Well, it's day 4 of this road trip to Bathurst and Triumph weekend, an interview weekend. I'm just going to see a guy about his, Craig, about his Datsun 180B rally car, and then I'll be off home. I'll be travelling home as much as I can by the back roads. I'll go back through Tirana and to Lithgow, and then down the Bells Line of Road to Richmond and Windsor. At this point in time, I haven't decided whether to then continue on the way I came up and go via Wiseman's Ferry, or whether to follow the navman and let it take me through what will probably be peak hour traffic through the outskirts of Sydney and what have you. Yeah, my goodness, the navman says it's quicker, but I don't fancy it, so I'll see how I feel when I get there. It's been a pretty good weekend, really. Lots of Triumphs. Like all Triumph owners, they're a bit secretive about their reliability, but I did hear that a couple did give trouble, which you'd expect with 116 Triumphs. Some of them would have to give trouble. This old beast, though, it's just gone and gone. Considering the temperatures of the last few days, the temperature gauge has hung in just a tiny little bit above normal running temperature, so geez, the fans I don't think were only turning on now and then, so it was me that was sort of melting into the sort of environment. And so yeah, it's been a good weekend, I guess. Lots of video. I've interviewed 4 people and videoed the big display they had in the main street, and of course the convoy lap around Mount Panorama and the Motor Racing Museum. But yeah, so there's a lot of editing to do when I get back. Problem is I got to pull the motor out of this car when I get back, so I'm not sure I'll have the time to put into the editing that I would have normally had, but I'll do the best I can. Anyway, we'll see how the day progresses, and I'll catch up to you as the day goes on. Always a good idea when travelling is to pull over and have a bit of a break, stretch the legs, get out of the car, break that cycle of sitting in a car for hours. So just outside Bathurst, saw this nice little park, pulled over for a bit of a walk around, stretch the legs and admire the scenery. I think this was a little place called O'Connell, just outside Bathurst. Not a very good picture on this side of the board about the Aboriginal settlement, but there you go. Well, here it is, still day 4 of this road trip. I've just interviewed Craig about his Datsun 180B rally car. It's a beautifully restored London to Sydney, around Australia historic rally car. So that was interesting. Now it's the trip home. I've just been through O'Connell, heading for what I call Tirana. It seems to be how it's spelt to me, but apparently it's not that way, but at any rate. The navman keeps falling off the windscreen for some reason. It's very windy out there today, not as hot, but it's still hot. And well, we'll head on home. No doubt, catch up with you a little bit later in the trip. Driving through Tirana here on the way to Lithgow, and much to my surprise, as the oncoming traffic was a group of Triumphs. Some of the Triumphs from the 100-year celebration, had decided to do a bit of a scenic tour before heading home. Here they are, all heading the opposite direction. Quite a surprise to see Triumphs on a backcountry road. Great to see though. A little bit closer to Lithgow, and there's this, what I would call a dam, but they call a lake. Lake Lyle, I think it was called. Another opportunity to pull over and have a bit of a break and have some lunch. Look at the engineering involved in building a dam on the side of the road here. Day 4 of this road trip was the coolest of all of them. Very pleasant travelling, easy on the car and easy on me. It was nice to pull up every now and then and have a bit of a look around. Here we have the spillway of this dam or lake, and quite an expanse of water there. Lake Lyle, if I'm interpreting that correctly. Well, we're going from one extreme to the other, not quite, but last 3 days it's been unbearably hot, sort of absolutely overwhelming hot. And here I am driving home. Okay, it's not what you'd call hot, it's actually very pleasantly cool compared to the last few days. But the fog's come down, or the low clouds come down, and the rain, and it's nothing like the last few days, and nothing even like this morning. And I'm on the Bellsliner Road, which should take me to Richmond and Windsor. At that point I need to decide whether I want to continue along the scenic route or go home by the main roads. I strongly suspect the main roads will be overwhelmed in peak hour traffic, and I don't fancy that much, so I might stick to the scenic route. This low cloud is making visibility very short. There's all sorts of signs back there, somewhat misleading about the nature of this road. One great big sign says closed, but when you read it, it's actually referring to the heavy truck weighing station. There's another one sort of banging on about detours and blah blah blah, which, unless you're a local, I don't think you'd understand what the hell they were talking about. And it was, anyway, I think it was after this date. It must be going to do road work, so I'm trusting in my luck. And trusting in my luck is not something I have a good record with. Whenever I throw the dice and trust my luck, it doesn't pan out. So let's hope I did read that sign correctly. And we'll just hoon on down this Bellsliner Road and into Richmond. If I can see more than a few metres in front of me. Shouldn't be too many cars on this road though, that should be nice. Anyway, I'll catch up with you a bit later in the day. Well, what started out as just sort of mist on the windscreen because of the low cloud, hardly worth putting the wipers on every couple of minutes, has turned into full blown rain. It's not overly heavy, it's just rain. Well, I'm just on the road to Wiseman's Ferry, and back a couple of k's, just driving along, and the bushfire trucks are there, and well, it's not bushfire sort of time, well, it is summer, but at any rate, there was bushfire trucks and then police cars, and they were stopping the traffic and what have you. Anyway, only stopped for a minute or so and they waved us through. It was one of those tipping trucks with a tipping trailer on the back, and the trailer had tipped over and it was 2/3 blocking the road. So that might take a bit of getting it back up on its wheels again. There was swags at truckies and trucks, and police were continuing to arrive as I continued to drive along. So there you go. Been a bit of a dodgy day for semi-trailers actually. Up over one of the mountains back there, yeah, there was a couple of truckies that might have been having stay awake issues or something. Yeah, they were wandering all over the place. I got some space between them and me as soon as I could. Anyway, I'm just on down to the ferry, and I'll see you then. Well, here I am coming down into Wiseman's Ferry. Now I've got a picture of my TR7 driving down here while competing in a navigational rally. It was taken by a professional photographer, but I don't know how he managed to get a spot somewhere here to take the picture. He was a local around here, so maybe he just hiked it. Yeah, nav man. I think I'd be bloody handbraking around here if I was rallying. Maybe not, because I could get onto the wrong side of the road. Wiseman's Ferry. Yeah, alright, brake, squeal your life out. Anyway, I'm at the ferry. I'll catch up with you a bit later. The rain had cleared away by the time I got down off the mountains. Down to here we are at Wiseman's Ferry. Changed a bit since I was here many moons ago. A couple of rallies went through here, navigational style rallies. I think my memory was only one ferry operated, but that could be just my memory playing tricks on me. Nevertheless, nice to have a bit of a ferry ride in the poor old Triumph. Go across the other side of the river and continue on the road trip. Only about an hour away from home at this point, and we're glad to see home. This road trip has been a lot harder than I anticipated it being, probably because of the hot weather. Not on the car, it's a monster, it just keeps going. It was me that was suffering. Well, that just about brings us to the end of this 4-day road trip. It wasn't a bad trip. Checking out all the other Triumphs and catching up with a lot of Triumph owners I haven't seen in a long time. Whinging about my Toyota, etc. All in all a fairly good trip. This old beast of a thing just keeps going. Marvellous old thing that it is. Considering it's leaking oil, and I know it's leaking oil, I don't know where it goes because it didn't leave any on the concrete of the motel, so I don't know. Now, I was planning a big road trip later in the year in this thing. I was hoping to visit past and present hill climbs and motor racing venues. Basically, there's a hill climb at Tamworth that they don't run anymore, up a lookout. There's a little racetrack in Tamworth. There's a hill climb at Gunnedah that goes up a lookout that I think is going to be still run. There's a motor museum at Inverell. There's a racetrack at a small 900 metre racetrack at Stanthorpe. Then there's the proper fairly big time motor racing venue at Warwick, Morgan Park. Then across over to Noosa Heads where they run a public road hill climb. Back down to Lakeside, which is a historic motor racing venue. Down to Queensland Raceway. There's a motor museum on the Gold Coast. There's the old Surfers Paradise Raceway that's now canal development. There's another racetrack, I think it was called Donting Park. I forget the name of it. It only existed for a little short time. It's now a industrial estate. The Mount Cotton Hill Climb. As you're further down you come, there's Grafton's Mountain View Hill Climb. Coffs Harbour's Rally Raceway. Kempsey Hill Climb. Bulladeel is a public road hill climb. They use that, I think, once a year before the virus. I don't know if it's still going to happen. Then down to Ringwood Hill Climb. The Italia Raceway that's under construction. And King Edward Park, that's a hill climb on public road that's inside a park that they don't do anymore. So there's a lot of venues to visit. My hope was to interview, someone from each car club that run those venues, and I think it would be a fascinating trip. But I'm not getting a big response from the car clubs in terms of being prepared to be interviewed. I think if I worked on them, I might get more than I've already got. But I think the real problem is me. 4 days on this road trip, and particularly the first couple of days, well, my goodness. Now, admittedly, it was exceedingly hot, but I didn't stand up to it all that well. The old knees, the back, but we won't go into a health conversation because they're boring. So, enough said that I'm not sure that 11, 12-day road trip is really realistic. Now, maybe I'm overreacting because the last couple of days have been better, and certainly the heat will be replaced with freezing cold weather in July. I'm not sure that will help the situation. But also the nature of the road trip will be more like today's been. Driving and stopping somewhere, interviewing someone for an hour or so, and moving on. That may not tax the body as much as the sort of day where there was a big car show and I was walking around a lot. Yeah, we'll put it on the back burner and keep it as a think about, hey. So anyway, that's the end of this road trip, and I'll see you on the next, or at least the next video on whatever I'm going to make that on. Probably working on this thing. The motor's got to come out one day next week. Whoa! Fuel light just came on as I went round there. Must have used more fuel than I thought we did. Which is a good thing. If I'm pulling the motor out, I don't want a full fuel tank. So, bye again.